So welcome everybody to today's Gita class. I have a little difficulty with the italic font, so I kindly ask the case of Prabhu to just read through it and then we'll try to say something. We're on the second verse today, right?
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, chapter 2, entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, text number 2. Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kutastu Kashmalam Idam. Visham Samupastitam. Anayajustam Ashvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Kutastva Kashmalam Idam. Vishame Samupashtitam. Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Kutastu Kashmalam Idam. Vishame Samupastitam. Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Kastava Kashmalam Idam. Vishme Samupasthitam. Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Tasva Kasmalam Idam. Vishame Samupastitam. Narijustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Tasva Kashmalamidam.
Vishame Samupastitam.
Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Kutastha Kasmalamidam. Bhishme Samupasthitam. Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Kutastva Kashmalam Idam. Vishame Samupashtitam. Anayajustam Asvaryam. Akirtikaram Arjuna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Tasva Kashmalamidam. Vishesha Samupastitam. अनाच्यतिष्ठमोष्ट्वा कीर्तिकरमर्जुना
Word for word. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Kutaha, where from? Dva, unto you. Kashmalam, dirtiness. Idam, this lamentation. Vishame, in this hour of crisis. Samupastitam, arrived. Anarya, persons who do not know the value of life. Justam, practiced by. Asvagyam, which does not lead to higher planets. Akirti, infamy. Karam, the cause of. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting of a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, this conception of the Absolute Truth is explained thus. Paranti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdite. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the Transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost Transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter, the sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva. The Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord, or Bhagavan, known as Govinda. He is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because no one can excel him. He is the supreme person, and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam, there is also a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original Personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chamsa kalapumsha Krishnachtu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of all the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed the surprise with the word kutaha, where from. Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the Absolute Truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duty by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman.
Swayam Rupa Kanamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanamusta Shri Rupan Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Parakam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Ancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we start another chapter so quickly. Last week we were on the first chapter, now we started the second chapter. And it's a very interesting one because it's one of the longest chapters of the Gita. And what is it called? What is the title of the chapter? The Gita Summarized. Right, contents of the Gita Summarized. So the Gita hasn't started yet. These are the concepts of the Gita. And actually there's another summary chapter in the Gita itself. Anybody knows which one?
18.
Yes, it's the 18th chapter. So in essence the Gita is only spoken in 16 chapters. And the essential points of it is given in the 2nd chapter and in the 18th chapter, where Krishna is summarizing. And so that, we always have excuses to read, right? To read Gita, no time, right? But if we just go over the 2nd chapter like this, or the 18th chapter, and if we're familiar with the essence of it, then we can also get the benefit. So from 700 verses it's reduced, and this chapter has 72. And it's essentially this section that we're doing now, the first part, is dealing with Sankhya, the analytical study of. Sankhya is dissecting material nature and how it works. And it's like the mind, the body, the soul, and how these 3 elements combine to make the human being and to create our action and interaction in this material world. So this first section that we're starting with, the 2nd chapter, is the Sankhya aspect. And Prabhupada goes through great lengths, 2 or 3 pages of the purport to explain this one word. Which word? Which word? Bhagavan, yes. Bhagavan. It's very familiar to us, right? Bhagavan. It's not difficult for us to understand it. But if you just look back, as we're going to discuss, that to come to that, this the bottom chart here, to come to that level where one can just be comfortable with that understanding that Krishna's to Bhagavan, nobody else. I'm just happy with that relationship. It takes many. Bahuna janmanante jnanamam prapadyante Vasudev sarvamiti samahatma sudur. In Krishna's opinion, that person is a Mahatma who understands that Vasudev sarvamiti is the source of everything. So in today's verse, we're learning what is happening, the emotional aspect of what is happening to Arjuna by Krishna's critique of him. Now at this point, Krishna is not acting as Guru as yet. He's still acting, because Arjuna has not accepted him as yet as Guru. He will in the next few verses. But at this point, Krishna is just warming up. Right? He's just starting up with Arjuna. And how does he prod him? How does he start? Kutasva kashmilam idam vishame samupastitam anarya justamasvargyam akritikaram Arjuna. He's saying that look at your dynasty, your descent. It's an Aryan descent. This Parashar Muni is the personality who coined this word Bhagavan. And who is he in relationship to Arjuna? Parashar Muni, his son is who? Vyasadeva. And who's Vyasadev's? In Mahabharata, Vyasadev's one of his 3 sons is who? Pandu. And Pandu's son is? Arjun. Well, not technically, but Pandu's son is one of the Pandavas. Technically is Indra, right? So it's his grandfather it's his great-grandfather, Parashar Muni, who is speaking in Prabhupada is quoting in the purport here. So Arjuna comes from a great dynasty here. And Krishna is saying to him that remember this, your heritage, your legacy that you're coming with here. Anaryan. And Akriti, the fame, you'll be defamed. For a Kshatriya to take, to be dishonored is the greatest difficulty for him to accept. So it's not an easy thing. So he's saying you'll also be defamed. And then he explains this word of kutasva, impurities. Kutasva kashmalam idam vishamaya samupasam. The impurities. How are impurities coming? By a misunderstanding of the body, of your external situation as the body, as the being, the permanent. This is where Arjuna's situation is. He's misunderstood that the body is the permanent situation. That's his difficulty right now. Sachin, you want to say something?
I have a question.
Yeah. Is it okay if we take the questions at the end of the class?
It's kind of important.
Yeah, but I'm trying to. I just have a main frame of thought, so I don't want to lose it. So if we can do the questions at the end.
I have a question.
I know you have a question, Prabhu, but it's just so that I don't lose my frame of thought, you know. So
It's kind of important.
okay, Prabhu, you have a question. Let's hear such an important question. Yes, what's your question?
I forgot it.
You want to ask a question, and you stop my class, and then you forgot the question.
You're raising your voice on me, so I forgot it.
No, I'm trying to say that you want to ask a question. I mentioned to do it at the end of the class, so you insisted you want to do it now. So
I just had one question.
okay, I know you had a question.
I don't see a crime in that.
No, I'm not getting angry or anything. It's just that I'm saying you.
I feel like you're getting angry.
I'm not getting angry. It's just that I'm trying to.
Give me.
Mother, I mean,
What we should do is, oh God. What we should do is, first turn off all your cell phones. And then we should just let the speaker speak so he doesn't lose his train of thought.
right. So,
And then try to remember your questions at the end.
right.
Or write them down. Hare Krishna. Please continue.
I just lost my train of thought.
So we're talking about Bhagavan.
Arjun's in the bodily conception.
Mataji, I can't do this. Can we, is it possible if we can play a proper lecture? I just lost my whole train of thought.
You mentioned how did this start come upon you? That was
Yes,
Dynasty.
this is a drama. Let's give Satya to Prabhu for his bravery and a round of applause. What I wanted to do was to create the tension of what Arjuna is feeling. When you put in a situation, thank you, Sadhusuda Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So it worked a little, right? Until the cell phone thing came in there, right? You started getting anxious, right? Like, oh my God, they're having a fight in the Bhagavad-Gītā class. You know? So, anyway, thanks to Satyasuda Prabhu, we're trying to create this atmosphere of what Arjuna is feeling, right? Because he's in the situation, before this chapter, what is this impurities? Krishna is saying to him, before this he was fine, there was no problem. Now all of a sudden Krishna has changed from the Yogamaya relationship, which is transcendental, to the Mahamaya concept, where he is conditioned him. This is Krishna, how he can change his energies. Parasha Shakti Vivideya Suryate. Krishna can just change matter into spirit, spirit into matter. Prabhupada gives the example of the electrician who can do this. Right? So, just like that. So, you felt when you heard the situation, right? And you saw me arguing with, oh, by the way, is this going on the FM, right? So, nobody must think that we had a fight here or something. Right? This was just a drama. And just to create the ambience of what Arjuna felt. What it's like to be in a situation where there's tension, where there's stress, where there's confusion, and you're not sure what to do, you know, especially when devotees are having a feud, then you feel, oh my God, it's in the middle of the class and everybody's looking, you know. But the thing is how to feel what Arjuna felt. You can't just say it by words. So drama helps in this way. Little bit of drama. Yes, but what is actually Arjuna feeling? This impurities, this conditioning that he's thinking, this is my family, these are my relationships. He's forgotten the aspect of Krishna being Ishvara Parama Krishna. Okay, that relationship is his friendship, but he has that understanding of Krishna being Bhagavan, Krishna being the Supreme Personality. But in this situation, he's feeling that no, I am part of this. Just like when we had the argument, you were watching, you emotionally got involved in this. Although you're sitting there, you emotionally got involved. And then when it got heated up and he wanted to ask his question, and then he forgot. And then when I raised my voice and said, well, you know, and then when I said, well, Mother Parvati, I forgot the rest of the class. So, you know, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen now, you know? So that tension comes. That tension comes because you're identifying with this situation. That's why Prabhupada at the end of the purport saying there, that the goal of life of an Aryan is to serve self-realization, to understand. This is why it's so confusing to me. How is it somebody like Hitler wanted to, you know, adopt the Vedic idea of Aryan? Because if you remove the element of self-realization, it's not Aryan anymore, like Prabhupada gave the definition of it. Even, I don't have any proof of this, but I heard that he used the swastika sign in an inverted way on the German flag. And, is that right? Yeah, and due to that, everything went wrong by inverting the swastika, because he thought it was just a nice symbol.
He did not use an inverted swastika.
Wasn't it turned?
No, this is a
It's a misnomer? Okay, good. And thank you for clearing that.
No, he had it in the shape of a 7, but it goes the other way.
But the swastika is there, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was reversed.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a common, it's not true.
I've seen
It's not upside down.
I've also seen, but I'm not sure which is the right
I've
way.
actually seen the swastikas, they're all correct, most of them.
Okay, we'll take your authority on it.
They're in the right shape, but they're going in the wrong direction.
No, they're not. That I know. They're exactly as they should be.
Okay, this drama was not planned now.
I'm just trying to correct.
Yeah, sure.
It'll be a mistake.
Yeah. Anyway, we can check into this then, right? Because I also had Mother Parvati's view on it, but it needs to be checked into. So the point being, the Aryan culture cannot be separated from self-realization, and that's what Krishna is telling Arjuna here. Now, let's get into the purport. Prabhupada is going through a lot of effort to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the different phases that one goes through, like I was saying earlier on, for devotees, it's very easy for us to accept Krishna's through Bhagavan Swayam, because Prabhupada has given Krishna to us in that way. And we've already passed the previous levels of jnana, of Brahman realization, of Paramatma realization. Because especially Brahman you can come to a level by logic, you can come to a point of Brahman realization. And we see scientists are doing that these days. We're not going to get too much into it, but they have technology and the method to come to the point of understanding that when you break everything down, 80, if you take all the externals away, then you come to a substance they call which has potentiality to create. And what is that substance? It's the Brahman. It's even in an aspect of quantum mechanics, it's called the unified field. We won't get into it, but just so that you can see that this aspect of Brahman is there. A unified field is, if you take like an orange, cut it in half, and half is kept here and half is sent to America. It's sent to a different location. Whatever you do to it here, the changes that happen to it here also seems to be happening to that other half which is in America. How is that possible? There must be a common thread or a common basis of consciousness that can affect in two different locations. So that's there. You can research it if you have interest in that. So it's proof that by logic you can come to the level of Brahman. But beyond that, to understand the spiritual nature of life, it has to be revealed. You cannot understand those levels without revelation. That's why the process of meditation is required. And that's why yogis spend years, many years. The second middle chart there, you can see somebody who's has a meditation in his mind. And he's trying to develop that. Actually, it's in the heart, and he's trying to develop that so that some personal feature comes out of it. Because you cannot interact with something impersonal. Although the Brahman is so enticing from a conditioned state. Why is that? Because there's no material substance in it. Material matter is so heavy that when you're able to transcend it and in the Brahman aspect merge into the Brahman, there's no burden of the matter anymore. And that not having the burden of matter is called liberation. But it's not the highest level. You're just merging into the, as we'll discuss, the bodily effulgence of Krishna. So it is, Brahman is non-different from Krishna. Paramatma is non-different from Krishna. And Bhagavan is Krishna. But according to your realization of it, what you realize of it, that is what will be revealed. So, the Prabhupada goes ahead to explain this verse, Vedanti tattvam vidas tattvam jnanam avyayam Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan iti shabdate. Yes, the three features of the Absolute Truth. And he uses the example in the purport here of the sun, and that's the first one on top. So, Krishna also says, I am the sun. Prabhasa sasa surya. Dasoham mamsa kaunteya. Prabhasa sasa surya. The radiance of the sun is coming from me. And Prabhupada explains the three features of this. The sunshine, the sun rays, the sun planet, and the personality of the sun, the localized. That analogy is applicable to these three features also. There's a lecture also that Prabhupada uses to describe the mountain in the same way. When you see a mountain, then you usually just see the peripheral of it. There's not much detail because it's such a huge thing, right? And then as you get closer to it, as you approach it, then you see more details of it. Oh, okay, there's greenery here, there's trees, there's even trees. And as you go approach it further, oh, there's birds. There's even so many different fruits. So more detail is given. And that's the understanding that Brahman is one aspect of the personality of Godhead, but not the complete aspect. But for us as devotees, we don't even consider this point. Prabhupada was in Bombay, and he was at a life member's house. And Prabhupada was giving the class there. And this life member mentioned to Prabhupada, he says, Swamiji, you know, your American disciples here, they're sleeping during the class. So Prabhupada said, oh? He says, yeah, to the whole class they were sleeping. And Prabhupada said, to the whole class? Then he said, well, to most of the class they were sleeping. He says, oh, to most of the class. So not to the whole class. He says, no, not to the whole class, to most of the class. I said, okay. So Prabhupada said, that means they were listening to some part of the lecture, right? He says, yes. So if they listen to that, if they only listen to some part of the lecture and they dedicated their whole lives to Krishna, you listen to the whole lecture, what are you doing? How's that logic? Prabhupada just snapped him back, you know. There was another one like this. It was in Chennai. There was a Pandit, South Indian Brahmin Pandit, you know. And he was also criticizing, mentioning to Prabhupada that, you know, your disciples don't chant the mantras properly, you know. So Prabhupada says, oh, they don't chant properly. He says, no, they don't know how, the American devotees don't know how to pronounce the sounds properly. He says, oh. So Prabhupada said, why don't you come and teach them then? So he says, okay. Then Prabhupada says, yes, you come and teach them. You come to our temple and you can come and give classes there on Sanskrit and you can teach them. But before you come, you have to give up your tea and coffee and pan. So he said, oh, Swamiji. And Prabhupada says, yes, these devotees have done that. And then he got the subtle point of that message, that you're chanting big Sanskrit verses, but you're not dedicating your life in the service of Krishna, self-realization. You're just a pundit. And here are people coming from a culture where there's no Vedic culture and fully giving their heart to the service of Krishna. So which is higher? So by Prabhupada's mercy, you've come to the understanding of Bhagavan, Bhagyavan, the possessor of opulences. So Krishna, we know, Prabhupada says in the purport, how many opulences? No.
16.
How many opulences does Krishna have?
16.
Parasa Sakti Vivide Suyate, unlimited. But 6 is primary. Unlimited. Krishna has unlimited opulences, but 6 is primary. And what is that? Aishwara Samagrasya Bhirasya Yashasriyaha Jnana Vairagyam Chaiva Sambhaga Itigana. These are the 6 primary opulences. Omniscient, all-knowing. Another one? Omnipotent, all-powerful, all beautiful, omnipresent, all renounced, and all famous. Yes, all famous. 6, right? But these are not all that Krishna has. Krishna has unlimited. Parasa Sakti Vibhide Suyate Swabhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. He has unlimited energies. Kriya Shakti, Kripa Shakti, mercy energy. He has Karuna, compassionate. So, so many different energies that Krishna has. But we only, in primary, Prabhupada mentioned the 6. Now a little brain teaser, right? So get everybody up a little bit. Now Western philosophy doesn't have the concept of Bhagavan, right? So they say, well, if God is all powerful like you say, then there is nothing that God can't create, right? You heard what I said? God is all powerful. If He has all power, He can create anything. So there's nothing that He can't create, right? So if there's nothing that He can't create, that means there's something. What is that something? It's nothing. You see, this is called semantics, the play of the words. There's nothing He can't create. What is that nothing? It's something. That means there is something that He can't create. What is that? It's nothing. You see how they waste their time? Another one. Can God create a square circle? What do you think? Huh?
Circle can be square.
That's a devotee. By the concept of the understanding, if you're speaking of a square, you're speaking of a square. If you're speaking of a circle, it's a circle. How can a circle be square? Just like they say, Prabhupada, the famous one they asked Prabhupada, what is that? Can God create a mountain that He cannot lift? Same concept. And then Prabhupada, how did he answer? Yeah, how did he answer? He said, yes, He can create a mountain which He cannot lift, but then He'll lift it. So this is how philosophy works. They twist and turn this in different ways. There's another one like this. They say, well, if God is all-powerful and all-knowing, right? So if He's all-knowing, then there's nothing that He cannot, He knows about everything. If he knows the future, it's like a rail track. He knows. So there's nothing that he cannot change because he knows everything. Right? If you know something, if you know about something, then there's nothing you cannot change. And if he cannot change anything, means he can't do it. That means he doesn't have power to do it. So they find this contradiction in omniscient and omnipotent. They say, well, God cannot be omniscient and omnipotent at the same time. He can either be one of the two. He can either be omniscient or he can be omnipotent. If he's omniscient, that means all-knowing, then if he knows the future, then he knows the future. That means he doesn't have to change. He cannot change it. And it is something he cannot change. He doesn't need to change. He cannot change it. There's something he cannot do. That means how can he be all-powerful? He has power, but not all power. This is called deism. This is a philosophy. I'm giving you a bit of philosophy here. So when you speak to people, you're not surprised when they throw one or two of these atom bombs, you know. And then you just catch it like a Brahmastra, like Arjun did, and you send it back. So like this. So deism means that yes, God is created, but He's not. He's left it as to work on its own. Theism means there's God. Atheism means there's no God. Deism means God has created something, the nature and its nature and its components to work, but He's not directly involved in it. It works automatically, like that. So these are the different philosophical understandings. Now, when are these people going to come to Bhagavan? Can you see our great fortune? Prabhupada has just taken us out from the depth and put us right up there to worship Krsna directly. We passed all of these. We passed the Pandit stage. We passed the stage of trying to analyze Gyan and what is Gyan, what is Vigyan, what is matter and spirit, Sankhya, like I said. All of that. Right up to the top stage. This is Bhagavan. Now, this idea of Krishna being non-dual, that Vedanti Tattvam Vidas, Tattvam Yaj Jnanam Avyayam, non-dual, the knowledge of being not two. So how then is Krishna Brahman and Paramatma and Bhagavan at the same time? So in the scripture we see there's a very nice verse in Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, and the next line, Santa Sadeva Hridaya Suvilochayanti, and the next line, Yam Shama Sundaram Hridaya Yam Shama Sundaram. Now, since when Shama Sundar has become the deity of the heart, that by prema, premanjana, by anointing the eye with love, then the deity of the heart, Hridaya Vilochayanti, in the heart, now has become Yam Shama Sundaram Achintyam Gunasarupam. So it shows that it's non-different. Krishna is also in the heart. It's the same personality. He's also, it's not that Brahman is any less than Paramatma and Paramatma is any less than Bhagavan. Technically, when we're discussing philosophy, we say it that way. But in the understanding of it, it's not that it's any less than Krishna. This is a very subtle point to catch if you want to understand Bhagavan. That Krishna is also the Lord in the heart, although it's Vishnu. But according to that verse, it's also Krishna. But technically, yes. Technically, yes. According to Siddhanta philosophy, yes. But as understanding, another verse, Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gītā says, Param Brahman Param Dhaman Pavitram Paramam. Yes. Para Brahman, Brahman. He's calling Krishna Brahman. Para Brahman. It's not that he doesn't know that Krishna is, this is another point that's saying, Krishna, you're also Brahman. The Brahman. But you're Para Brahman. So the technicality of it is, yes, It has its designations, but the understanding that it's all Krishna, it is Krishna, it's not different from Krishna. We see when Shishupal was killed by Krishna, what happened? He merged, right, into the body or the effulgence of Krishna. Now if Krishna is standing right there as a personality, why did he have to merge? So that this aspect of Krishna being different from these three concepts, it should be understood, it's all Krishna. But technically, yes, it is different. We separate it for that point. So when we understand it like this, we don't become offensive then to Brahman, and we don't become offensive then to Paramatma. We understand, yes, that's my Lord there also. That's my Lord there also. But it's not the full representation of it. It's not the full feature. We want to see the full feature of Krishna. So if we catch this point, it becomes very clear that, like that bottom picture, the bottom chart, where the devotee is sitting on a sea shore, and he's seeing nature, he's seeing Krishna. He's experiencing within contented within his heart, he's feeling Krishna, and he's seeing also, he's experiencing, he understands, this is all my Lord. Every aspect of nature is an aspect of Krishna. It's his nature. So we have 5 minutes. Anybody would like to ask anything or comment on anything? Everybody recovered after the drama? Yes, Narada. Anybody? Parvati? Yeah, just one last point. We'll just end on this point, and this Satchitananda aspect of, because Prabhupada covers so much in this purport, you know, and we can go on a few days on this verse, but just the Satchitananda aspect, that they're represented in 3 features, Sat, Chit and Ananda. So it's not that only in Sat, only in Brahman there's Sat, and there's no Sat in, or eternality, there's no eternality in Paramatma, and there's no Ananda in Brahman. We know Brahmananda. So there's these 3 features are embedded. They're part of the same absolute idea. It's not they're separated, but for technical reasons we separate them. Sat, Chit, Ananda. For Sat is the Brahman, is existence. Paramatma aspect, that of the localized aspect, that's the combination of Chit and Sat, eternality and cognition, full cognition. And the last aspect of Ananda, the spiritual aspect of bliss. Now the devotees, they know the other 2 lower aspects, but the experience that they're getting is from the Ananda level, although they're not negating the other 2 levels. So it's actually the combination of the 3. That's why when we describe our Swarup, the Jiva's constitution, it's Satchitananda Vigraha. That we are also the same constitution as Krishna, but in a minute form. He is Vibhu, we are Anu, small aspect. But the qualities can also be cultivated in the same way. So, Krishnastu Bhagavan. Yes, Krishna is Bhagavan. Krishna Prabhupada goes to great lengths to enforce this strongly. So we'll end there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande.
Thank you very much.